Hello, everybody. Welcome into Rock Rants. My name is Ryan, joined as always by.
Smiggy.
And today we're going to be talking about a band that I discovered about a year ago now, and that this is Smig's first time listening to, called Maximum the Hormone. So, Maximum the Hormone is a Japanese metal band formed in Tokyo in 1997. They've been around longer than I thought. The band has toured with artists such as the Dropkick Murphys and Bring Me the Horizon, and have had songs featured in anime such as Death Note and Chainsaw Man. According to their Wikipedia page, the themes from their songs can range from dark and serious to funny and lighthearted. And I say according to their Wikipedia page because most of their lyrics are in Japanese. And while I'm, in the process of learning, I don't know what the lyrical themes are about. So that's what their page said anyway. The lyrical themes and chaotic style often draws comparison to System of a Down. The band began to reach commercial success in the early to mid 2000s with the release of Rock Impo Goroshi in 2005 and the 2007 album that we will be discussing, Bu-ikikaesu. And while I did say that I've been trying to learn Japanese for a little bit now, I'm on words like watashi. So a lot of the song titles and whatnot, I'm not going to pronounce them correctly. So yeah, this is Maximum the Hormone. A little bit of background on how we got here. This was my most listened to album in 2025, according to Spotify. I really enjoyed this one, and we were just looking for something kind of unique to do this week. And since this was a newer band to Smigs, we thought we would jump into these guys. So, first impressions. What do you think?
Well, Ryan, to put it honestly, as bluntly as I possibly can, I think my libido is at peak. and yes, there were probably a million other places, because I knew we were probably both foaming at the mouth to get that line in here eventually.
Oh yeah.
And I pulled the gun out in the first act of the play. You're not supposed to do that, but I did it. And the background on that for our listeners is obviously the band we're covering is called Maximum the Hormone. I was trying to tell Ryan to maximize his horniness, but I wanted to tell him in his native tongue of Japanese. So I Google translated it, and I was like, there's no way that putting maximize your horny or maximize my horniness, whatever it technically was, there's no way that directly translates into Japanese or whatever. So reversed what it gave me, put it back in English, and it just says my libido is at peak, which I love that as a band name too, potentially. So
my libido is peak.
Yeah. So something to think about for our side project is the peak libidos.
I don't hate it.
My initial thoughts on this band were actually, honestly, I'm not even going to veil it. It was just good. I enjoyed this album a lot. I have a couple questions in regards to what part of the filing cabinet in your brain you put this music, and I'll get into that later, but similar to how like Metallica you can listen to all the time, Pinkly Smooth is more of a niche band, that kind of stuff, but again,
sure.
We'll get into that later. But I think that Maximum the Hormone is like when you're a child and you got into the kitchen, you got mom's blender out on the counter, right? And you just start throwing stuff in there. You got your leftover meatloaf from the day before, you put some ice cream in there, you put some sour Skittles in there, milk that's 3 days past the sell by date, and you just blend it because you're a kid. You don't know, you don't care, and obviously it's gonna taste like shit. But what if it doesn't? What if for some reason sour Skittles and rotten milk taste great? That is kind of what this is. Like this, their style is so clearly, if you could even call it a quote unquote style, which we'll get into more in a bit here as well. But their style is so clearly on purpose. And I don't know that I've ever seen a band ride the line of, is this too chaotic? And are we just doing this for the sake of having something different? But at no point in this album did I ever get that feeling. But it's crazy how many different genres of rock, and not even just metal, like new metal, like funk, rock, all they have like jazz elements and shit in half of their songs. It is absolutely impeccable to me that this band is able to take seemingly every genre of rock and just throw it all in the blender, but it still sounds good.
You know what I'm hearing in comparison to? It's no secret. I've referenced the Reds and some bands that have come to town and nearby and stuff like that. You got to try Skyline Chili. And for most people, when they hear that you're going to make spaghetti, and then you're going to top it with chili or a meat sauce and a mountain of cheddar cheese. And then if you want your choice of beans, onions, or both. And I've seen a lot of people say that that sounds absolutely disgusting. Why would you do that? What was your thoughts when you tried all that together? When you tried a three-way, as we call it?
I had a three-way with my mother and my father.
Yeah. And how was it?
In middle America, and it changed my life, Ryan.
Would you say Maximum the Hormone is like Skyline Chili?
Maximum the Hormone is the Skyline Chili of the rock scene. I will absolutely give you that. I will absolutely give you that.
That's what it sounded like.
Yeah. So wow, actually, what a pull. Obviously, you see that in front of your face almost every day of your life, Rob. But what a pull. That is actually the perfect comparison. That alongside the blender comparison. Something that immediately stood out to me is, again, part of their style. I'm going to keep calling it style, even though you can't really call it that because it's a mesh of shit all over the place. But something that immediately jumped out to me was the screaming vocals, like the higher pitch ones and all of that. They almost feel like they weren't invited to the party, and they just Kool-Aid Man through the wall every once and again to remind you that, like, hey, we're still, like, we're here and we're lurking and we're good at what we do. But like, but in that same way that it doesn't, it crashes into your ears like a train wreck. But a beautiful disaster is what it is. It's not invited. It doesn't belong there, but it fits perfectly every time.
I know the vocalist you're talking about, and this was news to me because I didn't realize this. I thought that the guy who you'd hear most of the time as their lead vocalist, I thought the higher pitched vocalist who you were talking about was kind of just like a backup guy. And then, of course, the female vocals would come in sometimes. I thought there were three. It turns out every single band member takes turns doing lead vocals besides their guitarist. He sticks to backup vocals. So you hear the bassist, the drummer, the guitarist on background, and then the higher pitched kind of screamy vocals that you're talking about. And when I first heard these guys, was I like these guys, except for I'm not the biggest fan of the guy who sounds like Donnie Thornberry from The Wild Thornberry. Is how he reminded. That's what he reminded me of. That's what he sounds like to me. But that quickly changed. It was like I heard "What's Up, People," which you only hear some of his vocals on that. It's not like I wouldn't say that he takes the lead on that one. It's kind of a back and forth thing. But the more I listen to them, the more that grew on me. So I think that was the one ingredient in your blender, or the onions of the Skyline Chili that you're unsure about at first, but it grows on you.
So to that end, I actually I didn't have to go on a spiritual journey to end up liking his vocals, which is crazy because usually I'm the one that has to listen to things multiple times to get enjoyment out of them, and you come here, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, ready to talk good about these people. So maybe a little bit of a switch up here. But so when I messaged you the other day, because again, as we say probably 21 times now in these episodes, we don't talk about the albums, at least not that much, before we start recording. This one I did it, like, at least let it slip that I enjoyed the album to Ryan because I had to send him something in my notes. But I sent you earlier in the week something to the effect of, not going to give you much about the album, but I will say there was one part that made me go, oh shit, and like start going guerrilla mode around my office. And it was maybe the most Donnie Thornberry part of the entire album. And I was like, that,
do you remember?
It's on the fucking opener. It's on Bu-ikikaesu, which I had to learn how to pronounce that, much like every other song on this album. Which actually, before I continue, we should answer this question first. Did either one of us look up what Bu-ikikaesu means?
No, I didn't. I looked up other things like about the band themselves, but I didn't look up any translations.
I level 1 Google translated it, so I'm not going to sit here and preach to the people that this is fact. But what I got back was it's like Boo is coming home again, or something like BOO, which maybe that is right. I don't know, but it says like Boo is coming home again. It was something that I don't know, but because again, the rest of the lyrics are in Japanese, so we don't really know what we're listening to. But I just wanted to get that factoid out to people because I feel like
I didn't know that.
Obviously. But at the beginning of the opening song, which I believe is Bu-ikikaesu, where he's like almost rapping the lyrics, and he's rapping the scream lyrics, and he hits like a very quick set of words while still screaming. And that's what made me go full ape and start flinging feces all over my cage. Oh shit! It's when you listen to it, it is very easy to just hear it and move past and be like, okay, that like good part of the song, whatever, we're moving on. But I don't think people understand how technically impressive doing that is. Like I've tried it again. I'm still very green, very new to the idea of learning harsh vocals. I'm self-taught, so I don't learn at a very fast pace. But I've tried so hard to learn how to speak quickly while doing this. And between being able to loosen your diaphragm while tightening your throat, while speaking quickly, while not running out of breath, like all of that put together is so technically impressive to me. And I think the line is something like Karanomego or something like that. I think it's I'm gonna put it on my thing real quick and I will try my best to say what he says. But my point being, I don't think people understand how technically impressive that is, just from the standpoint of being able to get your body to make those sounds the way that he does. And the line is coming off my ear right now.
Hold, please.
Yeah, Karanomeko. It sounds something like that, which I just made it sound Spanish, not Japanese. But to do that, I was like, oh, shit, that's so cool. That's so cool. That's so cool. Which again, very small part, and I'm glazing too hard for too long here on one part of this album. But that is in the first like 30 seconds of the album. So
Did you say that drew you in?
Oh, immediately.
Like, okay.
Oh my God, immediately.
I'm in for a ride.
Yeah. So I like. But and again, that's just one of the ingredients from one of the vocalists on one of the songs for 5 seconds, not even. And for that immediately to draw me in, and this is another one of those albums where I listened to probably 6 more Maximum the Hormone songs after the album ended, because I just didn't know the album ended. But at no point was I like feeling the need to check or skip or whatever. So obviously all of that together kind of has to say something. But it is interesting to me that maybe you did eventually fall in love with Donnie Thornberry, but that is immediately what drew me in.
I wasn't paying attention too much to the technical aspect of it, and it's something I haven't thought about until you brought it up. And like do you remember I sent you that song by the band Archspire, where in the beginning he's real fast, like you compared it to like Rap God by Eminem, and you're like, how is he doing that? So yeah, I'm sensing a theme of like kind of the vocal style that you like, and like I've listened to this album 100 times now, and I'm probably going to go back and listen to it with fresh ears now when it comes to Donnie and trying to listen to stuff like that. That's not his actual name. I have his actual name somewhere in here, but yeah.
Imagine it is just.
I'm not trying to downplay it or Don. Yeah.
I'm gonna keep calling him Donnie, but yeah, no, I mean. Just yes, you nailed it. That is a vocal styling that I like. Although, admittedly, I like singing more than I like screaming. Listening to it, I can't sing. I can only scream. So doing it, I prefer the other way around. But I usually like singing more than screaming, and I usually like deeper screams, growls. So this was very outside of what I usually am like very hype about. But I do enjoy fast lyrics or fast rapping or whatever. Not to be like a Redditor about it, just because I don't know if ADHD, things move quick in my brain. I like things to move quick in real life. It's stimulating. It's fun to me. But yes, 100%. It definitely derives from something like that. So if you recall, a couple weeks ago, I said that I had a line for one of the albums we were covering that I left in my notes at work, so I couldn't put it in the episode.
Was it for Turnstile?
So yeah, it was actually. So I went back and I apparently had my Turnstile notes still in my Word doc. So I took that line and I repurposed it. It actually wasn't nearly as funny as I thought it was, but I thought it was a clever comparison. And I changed it from being a bad thing there to a good thing here. So maybe that's an indictment on how my opinions work, but who cares? So it's like, you ever seen the Andy Warhol like soup can paintings, like the Campbell's soup can, and how they're all just the same picture, just different colors?
Mm-hmm.
We all knew it was the same soup can, but he did it differently enough to catch people's eyes. Admittedly, that particular piece is insanely lazy and a terrible piece of art, but I thought that shit was really cool originally. But this album does that in a good way. And this is the piece of my notes that I clipped to you, but this is what the album does in a good way. It's controlled chaos in its most refined form. It takes a winning formula of the time, because again, this album came out in 2007. So it takes a winning formula of the time with vomit, get us banned on YouTube. But it takes a winning formula of the time with similar sounds to other like alt and punk rock bands. Like these two are more loose comparisons. I literally messaged you earlier saying, what band am I trying to think of? Please help me. But I said that they kind of sound like some of these bands like Yellow Card or a more hardcore Bowling for Soup, just in some of these, again, older 2007 styles, even offering a System of a Down sound on songs like Zetsubu Billy and What's Up People. Not gonna use a Japanese accent. Won't do it. Yeah. Probably will do it. But then, of course, you have the almost anime sounding songs like, dude, I hate the name of this song. Choo Choo Lovely, Moony Moony, Mara Mara, Prin Prin, Bora Nura Nura,
That's one of my standout songs. I love that song.
Same. Choo Choo Lovely, Moony Moony, Mora Mora, Prin Prin, Boran, Nururu, Ro. Yeah, that. So, and that sounds like an anime song. I am hot in the face trying to get through that tongue twister. But there are no signs of when the flow will switch. There's no build up to a specific something usually. There's literally no rhyme or reason for the composition to be the way it is in a song like Kuso Breaking Lily, where the middle of the song just hits this hard down tune growl. And then immediately goes right back into sounding like you're listening to Weezer. Did I hear a little bit of like a jazz funk on the Black Power G-Men Spy song?
I think so, yeah.
The gentle plucking of the bass deserved a larger section in that song. And maybe not being able to nail down one band to compare them to is part of why this album is so appealing. So I want to pass that sentiment off to you here. What do you think that, since you can't really cage the elephant, so to speak, into one genre or even two or three genres, do you think that is like part of what makes them so impressive?
Yeah, I think so. And I think it's their experimentation and being able to blend. But it's not just like seamlessly blending. It's like what you talked about, where you just kind of throwing stuff in and mixing it up, but somehow it works. Back when I worked at a formal wear store, I never understood this style of shirt, but we used to sell these button-up shirts where it was like these bright pastel colors, but like the sleeve was pink and one half of it was like pastel blue. The other half was pastel green and orange on this sleeve. And it was just, I hated it personally, but there are so many people who went nuts for it. Like, I love this. It's like a derby shirt. I'm going to wear this to watch horses race, that sort of thing. But for me, that kind of patchwork, just putting it all together, experimenting, like you said, with funk or metal or punk or jazz or whatever, and they're stitching it all together, it works because it's not seamless. Like you said about the, what song are we talking about? Kuso Breaking Lily. Or it's so light and fun and airy, but then there's just some random heavy drop in there, and then it goes back to being just lighthearted. So it works well. Fun little side note: how long can we go in an episode without mentioning AI? How far are we in? We're about 19 minutes in. Yeah. I'm about to mention AI. So I discovered this band because when a couple of friends of mine started to use ChatGPT and telling me how crazy it was, and you can have actual conversations and this and that, and I was looking into it, and it said that it can help you with language learning. I downloaded ChatGPT and I said, what can I do, or what can you do to help me learn Japanese? One of the things it suggested was finding music that you like in the Japanese language and, taking it from there. And I said, okay, recommend me some metal bands. And they said, what kind of metal? Who do you like? And I said, System of a Down. And they said, if you like System of a Down, you might like Maximum the Hormone. So I went to Spotify, put them on, and I'm like, wow, AI was right. I enjoy Maximum the Hormone. So that's the origin. I listen to What's Up People because I think his screams and vocals in that song specifically remind me of System of a Down. That opening screen reminds me of the screen from Prison Song when they start off that way.
Yeah.
And I'm like, these guys are great. But then I went back and started the album from the beginning, and I was like, these guys don't really sound like System of a Down. I get the chaos, the controlled chaos thing, but like vocal styles and instrumentals, they don't really remind me that much of them, like a whole lot, but it works. I still like it. And I like how much they change it up and how chaotic it is, even if it's not exactly like System. So that's the origin. I think it works. It hooked me in. But yeah, that's how I feel about it. Are you focused?
I hate my camera sometimes, dude. This camera was too expensive to act the way that it does way more often than not. I've changed the focus settings on it and everything. Like, it shouldn't do what it does, and it does. So I'm just sitting here. I'm just being a mime while Ryan's giving his monologue. So that actually leads me into something, because as I mentioned to you earlier, you obviously know Maximum the Hormone way better than I do. Your libido is much stronger than mine. You're younger than I am. It's peaked. So I had a few almost interview style questions to ask you in regards to the band, the Japanese language, this, that, the other. And the one that I literally have highlighted right now while you were talking about that is, I'll get through the whole question here, but part of it was, do you think that simply
I'm ready.
Audio listeners, in a moment of trying to be serious, I turned to see Ryan with, not only did he put the glasses on at the tip of his nose, like, you know, old teacher style, but if you're not watching, he has a headphone wire coming down the right side of his body, and it looked like it was part of the glasses. So you just have like them all, yeah. So you're like holding up, you're holding up the glasses with a little stick, like we're in Victorian era posh. Yeah, what are they selling, Sonny? So, but
Yes.
do you think that simply listening to J metal, or, you know, whatever Japanese music media you might watch, same thing I guess can be applied to like watching anime or something, is helping you learn because obviously you can listen to this whole album and not pick up a single word that they're saying unless you're intentionally doing it, and even if you hear it, you don't know what it means, you don't understand the context necessarily. But I feel like obviously it can't teach you the language on its own, but I feel like hearing tones and inflections and kind of word placement on words that you do know, stuff like that. So kind of what I'm hearing is that this does, even if it's, you know, a 5% boost, do you think that something like this does help for learning the language?
Not at all. Not listening to Maximum the Hormone anyway, because Brittany and I also, when we're in the car, and like Addie's in the car too, there's a playlist on Spotify, like top 100 anime openings at the moment, that's changing, and they put them on there. It's a little bit more light. I don't know what the lyrics are about, but it's probably not the same thing Maximum the Hormone's singing about. That is more helpful. It's much more helpful to hear that kind of music and the tones and inflections and stuff. But this one, not as much. And I just think about it of the fact, like, let's say you were Japanese and you're learning English. Do you think it would probably be easier to learn English from like Coldplay or from System of a Down? You know what I mean? So, but based on your question, it can be helpful. And probably if I took Maximum the Hormone's lyrics and looked up the translations and actually what they, not like Google Translate, but what they are referencing, and when you put these words together, what it means and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, it would probably be helpful, but I haven't been doing that.
Which, fair, you're doing actual lessons and all that stuff. So to the beginning of that question is, what made you become fluent in Japanese? And do you think that it inherently makes you a simp of baby metal, because that's clearly why you learned it?
Yeah, I did learn it after hearing baby metal. And I was like, if I ever get to meet the members of baby metal, I have to be able to communicate so that I can tell them how incredible their life is. I learned it because Brittany's wanted to go to Japan for a long time. Like, it's just been on her bucket list for years and years and years that she wants to just go and vacation there one day. And as someone who's only been out of the country to go to Niagara Falls, the Niagara Falls side of Canada, I am like we're planning it. We want to go in a few years to Japan. I know that they have English signs up at places. I know that even if the majority doesn't speak English, I'm gonna run into people who speak English there. But I'm just so paranoid about like getting lost in a foreign country that I was like, I need to know the basics at least. So I did what anyone trying to learn a language does and downloaded Duolingo, did it for a couple months, realized that it's garbage after doing some research, and then moved on to other methods. But basically, the point is, while I wanted to learn the basics, once I started learning about like their alphabet, like hiragana and katakana, and then like their kanji and stuff like that,
Kanji,
it's just really fascinating. And I'm like, I think I want to just maybe try to learn it instead of just trying to learn basic phrases to like get me around. And like, if we're not going for a few more years, like I know I'm not going to be fluent by then, but that'd be kind of sweet to be able to at least, read stuff and maybe hold simple conversations when we go instead of just asking for directions. So
yeah,
yeah,
utilitarian.
that's
I like it. Okay, so honestly, yeah, because the biggest barrier, like I've been to a number of places outside the U.S., but the only one that speaks a different language was Mexico. And I will say, again, while everything is pretty tourist related there and it's easy to get around with English, all of that, the most uncomfortable part of the whole vacation was, for me, was I didn't know the native language, and that's on me. I'm the traveler. I need to do, but I wish I would. I know some Spanish, obviously, but I wish I would have at least brushed up on my knowledge to, read some signs or whatever shit was going on. So would highly recommend doing exactly what you're doing, just not with Duolingo.
No,
So
that's gone.
yeah. So do you think that we've been listening to a lot of international metal bands? Obviously, Baby Metal. Yeah. We have Maximum the Hormone. We had Bloody Wood. We had Maneskin. We had all of that. Do you think that with these international metal bands, when you're listening to these albums, do you think that there is an inherent part of your brain that's like, this isn't English, this immediately isn't something that I'm used to judging in the same way, because you don't understand the lyrics or you don't understand the cultural representation behind it, stuff like that, right? So do you think when we listen to these that you are judging them in the same manner, or do you think that you are more willing to branch outside of your preferred instrumental and like vocal stylings and whatnot, simply because your brain is telling you you're already expecting this to be different, let it be different, and then decide if you like it or not?
I'm going to answer, but then I'm going to throw it back to you because I'm curious on your thoughts too. Because my old manager really, like, him and his wife really like K-pop. I mean, K-pop is sweeping the nation right now. So it's not like they're the only ones, I'm saying, but I gave K-pop a try. And I mean, I think it's fair to say people don't judge K-pop the same way that they would judge like pop music in like their native language, like US pop music. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Something I thought about till you just said it, but probably not. Like, it's not like I'm judging things less harshly because I don't understand the lyrics. But I don't know. Maybe you're right that I kind of go into it with more of an open mind, if that makes sense. Because now I'm trying to think, what if I heard this album, but they were speaking English and I understood the lyrics and they were from here? Would I still enjoy it? I think the answer is yes. I mean, there's enough going on here for Maximum the Hormone that, yeah, I definitely still would. But I don't know. Would I think about it differently? Would it have been my most listened to album of 2025?
Which is crazy for an album that would have been 18 years old.
Yeah. And like Bloody Wood, I know they switch up between two languages, but they still speak English. But there was enough different with like the Indian folk music mixed in with it and those kind of instruments to where there might be a little bit of Japanese, like traditional Japanese music in here, but it wasn't like a standout focus for them the way it is for Bloody Wood. They make sure to get like the flutes and all that, like the Indian drums and whatnot as a focus. Dang, that's a good question. I think I'd still enjoy it, but yeah, maybe not my most listened to album.
And that's exactly, so what got me thinking about it this way is twofold. One, because obviously the Super Bowl halftime show this year for American football was Baboni, which I feel like Hispanic people have to be so tired of white people saying it that way, regardless. And I was messaging Saul about it because what do you do when you listen to a Hispanic artist besides message your Hispanic friend and be like, I'm listening? Like, point at him like a piece of shit on the wall. But I was messaging him because I was like, can you give me a recommendation? Because the opening song that he did at the Super Bowl, I really liked it. So I listened to it. I was like, can you give me recommendations on other good songs? I know Saul listens to Bad Bunny. And then I messaged him and I was like, you know what? I just don't think he's for me. But then again, I'm not his intended audience. And I was like, honestly, I think like, obviously I can't understand the lyrics. So it's harder for me. And then he immediately was like, I don't think that's a good reason. And then I was also immediately like, yeah, because I turned off Bad Bunny and turned on baby metal.
Yeah.
So, but then that got me thinking, because in that instance, I immediately applied it to mean something negative. And then I listened to more Bad Bunny, enjoy it. Not my favorite thing in the world, but I enjoy it. It's fun. But to that same point of baby metal, I think if baby metal was in English, I don't know that I would like it. I obviously don't know what I don't know, because I think there's just, for me anyway, I would never speak this for how other people's brains work, but this was a very passive thing in my brain that I had to come to the realization of. So I was curious to see how other people thought about it, because when I was listening to this album, Maximum Hormone, to get back on track here, I went into it knowing that they were a J metal band, and also knowing that this album was from 18 years ago. So that's a different set of standards, but all the same. And I was like, you know what? All these other international bands we've done, I've liked. Maybe I don't understand the lyrics, but maybe that's a good thing, because now I don't know that they're singing about cringe shit or stupid shit or whatever shit. And, you know, every American, what's the first thing you do when you hear an Australian person speak? You swoon. You love it. Or a British guy speak. Americans love that shit. And I'm sure that applies everywhere else too. But I think even just the different accent and the different language and being invited into a world that you're not usually in almost makes you feel like a guest rather than a resident in that home. And for me, I think it does make me more willing to have more of an open mind or judge them. I don't want to necessarily say less harshly, but maybe by a 5% different set of standards, because I know I did that with baby metal, because I was like, I fell into the same trap that a lot of people do. Cute Asian girls that have really insane amount of talent. Instrumentals are perfect. Vocals are perfect. It was a good album. But like I said, it's J metal, but it was J-pop J metal. And if that's all in English done by people that look like me, does my brain switch and say, now I don't like this because I have a certain set of expectations for American metal? I don't know. I guess my end statement is I don't really know what effect it has on my brain, but I know it has one.
You're making me think now, because there's another Japanese band me and Brittany listen to. I'm probably going to butcher their name. Like, I'm not going to keep saying that. You guys get it. Yoasobi. And they've done a couple anime openings and stuff like that, but we just started listening to their music. And now that we're used to their music and we've been listening to more of it, they actually recorded some of their songs in English, as in they have the Japanese version that's very popular. And then they took the exact same instrumental track and recorded it in English. And when Brittany and I first heard it, we're like, what is this? I don't like this. Like, weird. Not that we don't like it. We're like, this is weird. This sounds strange. And now it's to the point where it's not just the songs that I'm already familiar with that they sing in English that I change or, go to the Japanese version. It's even if there's a song I'm not familiar with, but it's the English version, I'm like, no, I'd rather hear the Japanese. So you make me think about it a little bit.
So let me
the way you just said, you feel like a guest, but it's not always a bad thing to feel like a guest when the host is treating you really, really nicely.
They treat you good. So let me ask you this, because I don't think this is a direct comparison, but do you think the following statement has any validity to it? Maximum the Hormone is the Japanese Pinkly Smooth. And what I mean by that, to elaborate, is I think they're better. Like, in every facet, I think they're better. But they have a lot of similar themes that we talked about with Pinkly Smooth. They're controlled chaos. They're disorganized, but on purpose. Things don't fit where they put them, or things aren't meant to be where they put them, but they still fit. We talked about a lot of these same themes. Now, again, the technical aspects, the actual instrumentals, all of that, I do think Maximum the Hormone is just better. So this is a bit of a loaded question, but I think that plays into what we were just talking about. Is we put Pinkly Smooth in a compartment of our brains that was, this is good because we know it's supposed to be bad and different. This also feels like it could just be the Japanese version of that.
I agree when it comes to their controlled chaos, and their themes. But I don't put these guys in the category of it's so bad it's good the way that I do Pinkly Smooth. However, if someone does do that, I get it. I understand.
Okay, so that leads me right into my next interview question. You're doing great so far, by the way. We're strongly considering you for the role. But do you compartmentalize them in the same brain space as traditional metal bands? So we obviously just talked about, the passive thoughts of the fact that they aren't American or, they don't speak English. We just talked about the idea of putting different bands in different parts of your brain for different entertainment styles. But we talk about the right mood to listen to certain things. Like Metallica is an anytime food as far as metal goes, whereas Pinkly Smooth is, when you have your tentacle attachments on, you're feeling a little silly. But what brain space does this band take up for you? Just outright good band, niche J metal band that's just fun to listen to? Where are they at for you?
It is outright good because I have a few other songs on my everyday playlist that I put on shuffle or smart shuffle or whatever while I'm driving. And when they come on in the middle of all of the other music that I listen to, I don't skip it. The way where if I had added Pinkly Smooth or something and they would come on and I'm just like, I'm not in the mood for this, and I'd skip it. So yeah, I think in my personal brain, that's where they stick for me, is I am comparing them to the rest of the metal bands that I listen to, even like the English ones. But do you have a different headspace for these guys?
I think I thought myself into a hole about all this today to a point where I don't know if I can confidently say what I am thinking. But obviously I had to have these thoughts to begin with. So I think there's a little bit of an answer inside of itself. Where I'm kind of struggling to understand where I want to put them. Because like I said, I do think they're technically just outright better than Pinkly Smooth. So definitely not in the exact same compartment as Pinkly Smooth. But again, there is such the perfect way to put it is still just controlled chaos and organized disorganization. So I think as far as that as a theme of metal goes, I kind of have to be in the mood. Because how big of a deal did I make about the one Sleep Token song where the whole song just has one beat off to me?
Yeah.
And it almost ruined the whole album for me. But this doesn't do it here. But I feel like I could probably hit a point where I'm like, okay, I know they're trying to just be a normal good band. They're not trying to be a Pinkly Smooth. But I think I'm somewhere in the middle of putting them where I would put the Avenged Sevenfolds and the System of a Downs and the Metallicas and all of that, and where I would put the Pinkly Smooths. I think they're like right in the middle, I think I take them a little less seriously, which is not the proper way to say it, but I take them a little less seriously than Baby Metal, but more seriously than Pinkly Smooth.
Okay.
Something like that. But
that's fair.
So I mean, it's still a good place to be. Like I said, this album is insane. And to the point of them having a style that is no style. You have known this band for a year now. I've assumedly listened to more than just this album. Are they always this scattered in style, or is this simply something that just happened on this album? And whatever the answer is, do you think, again, we kind of hashed this question out already, but do you think essentially having no style benefits or hurts them?
It definitely benefits. And while I haven't listened to the other albums as many times as this one, yeah, I mean, if you liked this one, you should like the others. I'm not going to say that it all sounds exactly the same or exactly like this, because it is kind of a product of its time, coming out in 2007. But they have a few before this and a few after. They haven't come out with one in quite some time. Point is, while they keep their initial scattered controlled chaos, it's not like all of their albums sound the same. So I think it's a benefit. I think it makes them stand out and makes them pretty unique. I wish they would come here. I would love to go to this show, but they've only played the States a handful of times. It's not something they don't come here regularly. So maybe one day.
The forbidden fruit, always better. So yeah, maybe one day I would like, because this band is so clearly one that would give a great live show. Like they seem like they love to have a good party. So
you know what's funny?
Yeah.
Is learning about, Japanese language and culture and stuff. Everyone always says how like formal it is. You have to follow the formalities and, politeness and respectfulness. And I get it. That is part of the culture. They almost build it up like that's the majority of what's happening. And they're like, oh, if you go to Japan as a foreigner and you have tattoos, like that's a big no. And, you're like some places won't let you in and blah blah blah, all this sort of stuff. Yeah, I'm sure there's exceptions. You can't lump all of Japan into one, but I love hearing about all that and then seeing guys like this covered in tattoos, just so chaotic. You know that they're live shows, people are moshing and crowd surfing, and I want to be a part of that. When we go to Japan, if they're playing anywhere close to where we stay, I have to go see these guys.
You know what? Saying that out loud, I wonder, because I don't know why I'm stuck in this philosophical hellhole in my brain right now, but I do wonder if part of it is like, because we talked about the same thing with Bloodywood to some relative extent, where, you know, India is a very put together country, at least in the public eye, right? Very proper, all of that. Every country has its problems, but that was part, it is part of what Bloodywood sings against is all the problems that happen in India, blah, 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 blah. But these are, you know, long hair, big bearded, tatted up, screaming their fucking heads off, beating on a drum. Like, it's a metal band. I'm describing a metal band, obviously. But when you see something like that, and especially like you just said for Japan specifically, where we, you know, what we understand them is like they are buttoned up, they get their shit done, and that is how it works. They are business, they get it done. Do you think that having that clash to what you understand the culture to be plays a part in why you think this might be more entertaining?
Yeah, for sure. And it's also just like, I don't know, almost like a form of acceptance. You're like, if I were to stay in Japan like long term or something, would I be accepted anywhere? And it's like, yeah, your people somewhere are still there. You know, they'll be there. So I think so.
Okay. So to the people saying, Ryan, Mr. Gosling, I don't speak Japanese, so I can't listen to this band. What do you say to those people?
It doesn't matter. I've already said that I can't understand English lyrics over half the time anyway. So what's the difference if they're singing in English and I can't understand it, or they're singing another language and I can't understand it? Plus, I don't know, man. Music's not just about the words. That's just a part, right?
Preach emoji. Preach
Just
emoji.
a section.
Yeah. No, I go on.
No, you listen to like classical music, the big symphonies and stuff like that. Unless you're listening to opera, they don't have words. And those songs have stood the test of time. You know? You don't have to have words. And if you do, who cares if you don't understand them?
Yeah, no, I love that answer because that's exactly what my thought was too. Like I said, I obviously just gave my own anecdote about Bad Bunny and all of that and how much I enjoy baby metal and all of that you can't understand. But I think with metal specifically, you have such a good opportunity to not let that be an excuse because, like you said, you can't understand the fucking lyrics to half of these bands anyway when it's screaming, right? Like it doesn't matter. And like you said, and what I expressed last week, I think metal, I won't say it's the most because things like jazz and 8 billion different genres of music exist, but I think metal is one of the most expressive genres of music, period, by way of how it chooses to go about it. I made the comparison last week where rap, and this isn't throwing shade on other genres of music, but rap is very direct in their analogies. I am blank like I'm blank. You know, I'm cold like I'm an ice cube. Sign me to the record deal. Whereas metal is insanely philosophical. We're talking about the river Styx and journeying across it, and that's supposed to mean something about your childhood. Like you see all of these weird ass themes put together, and to the point, like you just said again, where metal isn't just about the lyrics. It's about what you're listening to. I say it all the time. I'm a big vibes guy. I listen to the music and let it tell me how to feel, which I know sounds really dumb, but literally if my brain, if I just start nodding my head, if I start banging out, probably means it's a good thing. And I haven't even heard the lyrics yet. So I love that answer because I know a bunch of people are like, it's not English. I can't do it.
And you know what? One of their album covers is a drawing of somebody having explosive diarrhea in someone else's face. So I don't know if I want to know the lyrics. You know what I mean? I might just be better off not knowing what they're singing about.
Mystery's better left unsolved.
Real quick, we talked about Bu-ikikaesu. We talked about Kuso breaking Noah breaking Lily. We talked about What's Up People and Choo Choo Loving Mooney 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 Prin Prin. Did you have any other standout songs?
So that's actually was going to be my next two questions was the old favorite and
Okay,
least
I jumped,
favorite or standouts. So my
jumped the
favorite
interview.
was Kusa Breaking Lily. That was my favorite. The reason being that little like chime at the beginning reminds me of like a
Hmm.
metal version of a lullaby and potentially even something that you would hear on like a Sleep Token song, which as
Yeah, it
much
sounds
as
like
I
a music
bash,
box being wound up or
yeah,
something. So it reminded me of.
yes. So, like as much as I bash Sleep Token that album because it didn't love it, but I think Sleep Token's good, so I mean that in a good way. But that drew me in immediately. It feels very 2007 MTV music video punk alt
Mm.
rock again, like Bowling for Soup style thing is what I would expect a music video to look like. So that was my favorite song. My least favorite song was Louisiana Bob, which
Oh man, I like that one.
I was gonna say, which is crazy because initially it was in like my top three, I think. So what I said is honestly, still a good song. Still a good song. This is another album where I don't really think I found like a 10. Like maybe Kusa Breaking Lily is like a 9 for me, and Bu-ikikaesu is like a 9 for me. But there certainly wasn't anything below like a 6. So Louisiana Bob for me is probably like a 6.5 still, something
Still
like that, a
average.
6. So it's still a good song, but it has like notes of like 90s hair bands at the beginning and that's not a bad thing, right? Again, they found a beautiful way to mesh a bunch of styles together, but I just in general I'm not the biggest fan of radio rock to begin with because I don't know, it's just overplayed, overdone. So when I got that immediate 90s hair band vibes, I was like, I'm sure this is great and it is a good song. I was like, I've just heard this so many times, I don't want to hear it again, especially on an album where I'm hearing a bunch of shit that I've never heard before.
That's fair.
So on to you. So Kusa Breaking Lily is the favorite. Louisiana Bob's the least favorite. Go on now. Tell the people.
Oh, favorite that we haven't already mentioned is Bikini Sports Punching. I think that song is great. And I love the little guitar part where they're playing just one note, but it's all kind of like surfing style with a little disco beat on the drums. And then Donnie Thornberry comes in and he starts, like you said, it's almost like he's rapping his little part after that. I think it's great. I love that part. Least favorite, and it's like you said, it's still, there's no bad songs on here, but I think the last one, Koino Mega Lover, it just didn't, it doesn't stand out to me a whole lot. Not that it's
Yeah.
bad. It's just not one that I'm listening to on the regular. But yeah, those are probably okay, that's not true. Bikini Sports Punchin' was my favorite that we hadn't mentioned yet. My favorite on the album, that's hard. It's
Well,
probably Bu-ikikaesu.
it's
Just
just
the
such a
opening one.
good song. Which makes
Yeah,
sense. It's
it
the
is great.
namesake of the album. You probably put a little bit more effort into that song, but it just simply nails it. Like I said, it was the first 30 seconds of the album, and I was like, yeah, this is probably just gonna be good. And it was that song, so hard to
Also,
argue.
shout out to Black Power G-Men Spy because how many times have I said this now where it sounds like
You
I
do
hear
yell
certain
Black Power on
songs,
this show a lot.
I hear certain songs and I'm like, I can see myself playing Tony Hawk while listening to this. One of these days, I'm just going to put together if whoever's making the Tony Hawk games now came to us and said we need you to put the playlist together for our newest game. I'm
You're
just
gonna
going to put
have
together
it.
like my Tony Hawk 6 or whatever game they're on. My personal Tony Hawk playlist. That Black Power G-Men Spy would be on there.
Because we have said that about a lot of bands that we have covered, so I'm sure we could get at
Maybe we
least
just need to
like an
make our
album's
playlist.
worth.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we'll
honestly.
like do a joint Spotify playlist. Um, do you know what the name Maximum the Hormone means?
That my libido is at peak, Ryan. We covered this.
Well, it's funny because when I looked up to see if one had ever come here before, because a lot of time you can look up bands put in your city and it'll tell you the last time they were there. I looked up Maximum the Hormone Cincinnati, and Google just gave me a bunch of places where you can get hormone replacement therapy. So I'm like, okay, they've never been to Cincinnati, first off. Second, I looked up the band name, and this is again from Wikipedia, just a couple sentences that I'm going to read to you. It says, when asked about the group's name in an interview, Maximum the Ryokun, who I believe is the guitarist, stated, take it as you like. It means anything from the Japanese cuisine for cooking animal innards to the sensation of the maximum amount of your hormones coming to the boil. Although we go abroad, people think we're just some sort of sexual energy drink. Hormone or hormone is a style of yakiniku, which is Japanese barbecue, where many of the typically discarded internal organs are grilled in bite-sized pieces and eaten. So he's like, you can take it as that. You can take it as a sexual energy drink. Whatever you think the name means, just go with it.
Thinking of that, dude, I already have like a can design in mind for that. That's actually gas. You know what? I like that answer a lot because actually, I don't know, because I feel like if I made a band, I would want to know what the name meant, but that's a personal flavor. Leaving it open to interpretation, because the name Maximum the Hormone is just funny. It just is.
Yeah, it is.
So I guess leaving it open to that just continues to play into that. So I like that a lot. And the idea of the maximum sensation of your hormones coming to a boil makes it sound like menopause or something. So you could be menopause at like a Korean barbecue or some shit.
I love it.
I'm 100% with it. Did not know that. Absolutely love the background. So what did you say that guy's name was? He was just Maximum the something?
Maximum the Ryokun.
Huh.
And I believe he's like, I was doing a little bit about like who the band members are. They've stayed pretty much the same. They've had 2 past members, but I believe he is the little brother of one of the members. I think we got a little sibling action in Maximum the Hormone.
A little incest in the hormones.
Well, no, not that sibling action.
Yeah.
I think he's the one too, where in Japan they have like their outdoor shoes, where then they walk in, take off their outdoor shoes, put on their inside like slipper house shoes, so they're not dragging it. I believe they also have bathroom shoes. So you slip on a different pair of slippers in the bathroom. Apparently, I think he's the one. I'd have to go look it up. One of them wears bathroom slippers on stage. That's like their trademark is they're in their bathroom shoes. So I don't know. They're wild. They're wacky. I love them.
So as that kind of implies, we're coming towards the finale here. So that's so funny. That is because I've often thought about the idea of like if we ever covered a song, or not that we would ever make a music video or something for it, but even if we just had like us recording the song like on a fucking iPhone or something, like what I would want to appear as. And usually I just give up on the idea and go with exactly what I look like. Just like black hoodie, black jeans, black shoes, black headband, black gloves, all black everything. Because that's what I wear on a normal basis anyway. But I also was tinkering with the idea of like, wouldn't it be cool to just show up as like a fucking clown? Or like dress like the Rev used to always do? Or like you just said, the bathroom slippers. It's just so modest, but it's there and it's really funny. I love that. I absolutely love that.
Would you be against if we made a music video? I would do what when me and my friend were in late middle school, early high school, we'd get on, where like you turn on your webcam and it randomly pairs you with people, whatever that was called. Yeah, that was it. We used to, I think I've talked about this on the podcast. We used to take like brown plastic bags from the grocery store and poke eye holes in them and then put it over our head. And it looked like the Scarecrow mask from Batman Begins. It used to scare people. They'd match and they'd like jump when they saw us. I think I'd like record my guitar parts and all that wearing like a brown plastic bag on my head.
We'd be like Slipknot.
Viewers, please don't do this, because putting plastic over your head is, that's a way that people suffocate. But we cut eye holes.
Smoke a cigarette in there while you're at it.
Don't do it.
Fuck it. Chain smoke. Tie it as tight as possible too, because you don't want it to fall off in the wind.
Don't do it. Disclaimer: do not do it.
Obviously, don't do it.
We cut eye holes in there. It was fine, but yeah,
I like that though, especially if it's literally that. But yeah, I think about that whenever I start like screaming in my car on the way home, because obviously you like start to picture the whole mental image of what you're doing to begin with, and I don't get embarrassed about shit like that. So yeah, well, maybe we'll have to figure that out one day. So I'm going.
If I never stop being a degenerate and actually record something for us to work on,
brother. To be fair, the first time you actually did your whole part, I think Saul was waiting for me to do my part to do his. I didn't even remember the song that we were doing, and then I pussied out and said that I didn't.
Excuse. I sent him the files too.
He was never gonna do it.
Yeah.
He was never gonna
we changed to a 21 Pilot song so that man could record ukulele, and he never recorded it. So I don't want to hear it.
And I pussied out because I know I'm not good at singing, and that's like the one thing I do kind of get embarrassed about, which is why I've shifted into growls and stuff, because I can actually do those. So we've just had to take a detour on this journey to figure out what we're even going to do in the first place, and that's fine. It's everybody's fault and nobody's fault at the same time. But this is my fault. I'm going to put you on the spot here.
Okay.
If you had 60 seconds to convince somebody why this album is worth listening to. So obviously we just spent 54 minutes talking about the album and the philosophy behind why you listen to certain things, this, that, the other, all of the things that we talked about in the last 54 minutes. If you had to condense your argument into 60 seconds and convince people that this album by this band is worth listening to, what do you have for them?
Okay, two things. You have to do yours next. But second thing, who am I talking to? Because if I'm talking to my mom, she's never going to be convinced. If I'm talking to like someone
a general metal
Slipknot
fan,
show, okay,
it's somebody that you have a chance of getting to listen to it. They're asking you why they should listen to this. You're not busting into their door. Maximum Hormone, you listen right now. No, they're coming to you and asking you.
Okay, fair. 60 seconds, go. Are you tired of the same old generic metal that you hear constantly played on Octane on the radio? If so, why don't you take a step back in time 19 years and listen to a little band that you might be unfamiliar with called Maximum the Hormone. Who are Maximum the Hormone? Well, they're a Japanese metal band that don't necessarily follow the same traditions as other metal bands where they have several different vocalists. They all sound completely different. Their style is so unique, blending jazz and metal and punk and funk and everything else that you can think of, but it works well together, like a Skyline Chili three-way.
You only got 10 seconds left. That's fine. You're good. I think that was succinct. Well said. Well done. We got the three-way in there again. No, I think that is convincing. I think that is pretty proper to what we have talked about this whole time. So
you
looking at the time, make sure that I got my 60 seconds here.
Yep.
Okay. Who else would you listen to other than the man who currently looks like he is 2006 version of the Rev with the raven hair, flipped over E-boy style? I'm ready to rock. I'm ready to roll. And where I would like to do rolling is in your bed, viewer, as long as you are over the age of 25. Why you should listen to My Libido is at peak is because if you are a fan of niche music, your Pinkley Smooths of the world, your Maneskin's of the world, Bloody Wood isn't niche, but they're not as known as some of these other bands. If you like the player 2 slot, if you like the side character, if you like things that don't quite fit into the societal norms, if you're neurodivergent and your whole life has been modeled after that very idea, why not paint with all the colors of the rainbow instead of just 50 shades of gray? We want the world to have color. We want the world to be vibrant. And bands like Maximum the Hormone, keep saying Maximize My Libido, Maximum the Hormone are good for that. Shit.
Finish your thought.
No, that was basically it. Is bands like Maximum the Hormone force you to listen to a somewhat solved genre in a different way. And I think if that's something, if you're not looking for the traditional norm, this is maybe one of your first stops.
Well said. What would you give it out of 10?
That's what I was just about to say. I was bouncing between a 7 and a 7.5. I think I've given a lot of albums a raw 7 though, and I think of the even though we say 5 is the baseline, because it is, of the what I'm considering baseline good albums, baseline above average albums at like a 7, I think this beats those out by a little bit. Not by a ton, but I'm going to give it the 7.5. I'm going to give it 7.5 out of 10. I think, again, this album is boosted by two things the most. One is that they don't have a style. Their style is having no style. So you feel like you're listening to, what is this song? 13 or album, 13 songs. You sound like you're listening to 13 different albums or something like that. It just, it's all different enough while still conforming to what we understand metal to be in such a beautiful way. So I think it is bolstered by that. And I think it's bolstered by the idea that even its bad songs are still a 6 out of 10. So it's hard to drop it that low when your bad is still average.
Yeah. I'm going to agree where the bad bad songs are still like a 6.5 because while there are like 3 or 4 that didn't really stand out to me, the other 8 or 9 or 10 or however many definitely did. So I'm going 8.5 on this one. 8.5. It's great overall. I can put it on while I'm doing work outside or working on the computer or driving or whatever. It's just good for any occasion in my book. So 8.5 for me.
Yeah, honestly, no arguments from me. Again, I'm sticking at the 7.5, but I 100% see why it's an 8.5. This is definitely another band that I will listen to more of. They were exciting from nut to butt. This is just a great album. So again, if you're somebody that likes to step out of the societal norm of what metal is and has become with god awful bands like Turnstile, this album's from 2007, so it's gonna sound way different than something we would expect from them today. But it's out there on purpose. It's disorganized, it's controlled chaos, but every step of the way they knew what they were doing. And even though the puzzle pieces don't belong where they put them, they still fit. So I think if you're somebody that's getting a little bit tired of listening to the same old, Maximum the Hormone, 1,000% a good place to start branching out. And the same idea applies to international metal bands. Get over yourself. Listen to something that's not English. I know I had to break through that barrier too, but I think if you're trying to branch out into that as well, bands like Baby Metal, Maximum the Hormone, Bloody Wood, the ones that we have covered besides Maneskin, those are all good examples of places to start to listen to non-English bands.
Well said. Do you think you'd like Måneskin if they sung in Italian?
No. I think that guy's voice is so fucking annoying.
I didn't think so. We just had to check.
You know what, though? After the discussion we just had, maybe. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe they probably have some songs in Italian that I can find that maybe I'll run that comparison with. But
you would think, yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. So 7.5 and 8.5. Life's good. Life is but a dream with this one. I don't know what I think we have an idea of what we're doing next, but I don't want to say it because I haven't figured out a way to say that I want to do this specific thing without making it sound like I'm trying to be a fetishist about it. So depending on what we decide to do, it's just, yeah. So depending on what comes out next week, you'll probably see me just writhing in my chair trying to get views, which is not the way I like to produce content, but we got to try some ideas here. So we'll see what we end up doing. But this was Maximum the Hormone, Bu-ikikaesu. Highly recommend it. You had an 8.5 and a 7.5. Album's just, it's amazing. It's a high energy, up-tempo album from a good band. Sounds a little bit different, a bunch of different vocal styles, a bunch of different instrumental styles, all of that. You got anything else?
That's it. We covered it.
Thank you all for rocking with us. As always, this is Rock Rants. My name is Smiggy, joined by...
Right.
Thank you all for watching. Love you all. See you next time.
Bye.